Straight all day.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is focusing on yourself is not a solution to a problem. And we'll get into why that is and why many people, some of you who are listening right now, need to stop using this as a BS out clause / excuse to do nothing about things that you have already identified as areas for improvement, we'll call it. But before we do that, first of all, I send out a daily motivation text for free every single day. A message guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point every single day. It is called the Daily Motivation. Yes, every day. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is, any day that ends in DAY. You want to get it, send me a text at my number, 305-384-6894. And every day when I send out the Daily Motivation, you'll be receiving it. All you gotta do is text me at that number. It is linked down below in the show notes as well, 305-384-6894. Secondly, wherever you are listening to this show, whether it is the audio apps or on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to me or subscribe to the show and leave a rating of the show. That helps, first of all, it helps me know that I'm giving you the game that you need on a day-to-day basis here. Work on your game. Whether you listen to all the episodes, some of them, or you're brand new, whatever. And there's the other thing that it does, not or, but and, it helps push the show up in the algorithms and in the rankings so that more people who need the game, the same way that you've been getting the game, they can get it the same way you're getting it. So you want to spread the wealth, make sure more people know about me and know about what we're doing here. Make sure you leave a rating and subscribe to the show, follow the show, whatever you can do on whatever app, so that more people will know that it exists. So with all that said, now let's get into the topic here today. Now in my line of work, the topic again is focusing on yourself is not a solution to your problems. If you're using that phrase, I'm going to focus on myself. I've heard people say this often, and we'll get into that in a minute. In my line of work, I'm often hearing from people who are telling me what their biggest challenge is. I work as a coach, and a lot of what I do, even if you are brand new to listening to the show, you just look at the titles of the episodes on this masterclass. You see that a lot of what I do is personal and professional development, things that we do to work on ourselves and make ourselves better and more valuable individuals. So I'm usually asking people, what is the biggest challenge that you're dealing with right now? And that's one of the reasons why people tell me. And the challenge is not that people have challenges, because everybody has challenges. The challenge is when I ask people what is their proposed solution to their challenge. So I ask someone, what's your challenge going on right now? And they'll tell me XYZ, whatever it happens to be. And I'll say to them something like, okay, thank you for sharing that. Now, what is your plan or process, or what have you been doing up to this point before right now in this conversation? What have you been doing to deal with this issue? And the solution to their problems is usually completely inefficient when it comes to an ineffective, and insufficient is actually a better word, not inefficient. It can be inefficient, but insufficient when it comes to how they're actually going to solve the issue, when it comes to the probability of it actually solving the issue. And this is one of the most common responses that I get, which is, I'm going to work on myself. I'll just work on myself, or I'll focus on myself, and that's how I'm going to solve the problem. All right, that's not enough. And working on yourself can be enough if someone's helping you work on yourself, but if you're doing it by yourself, that's not enough. And this is usually what people are telling me, and that's why it's an insufficient answer when you have a challenge and your only solution is, well, I'm going to focus on myself or work on myself. That's not going to work. So let's get into why that is. Point number one. Today's topic again is focusing on myself is not a solution to your problems. Number one, First of all, you've been focusing on yourself your whole damn life. So whatever age you are, if you're 32 years old listening to my voice right now, and you have a challenge to deal with, focusing on yourself is not a solution simply because you've had 32 years to focus on yourself. And when you're 35, you will have had 35 years to focus on yourself. And when you're 50, you get how this goes, right? You'll have focused on yourself for 50 years. So who else are you focusing on? I mean, there's no one listening to me right now who focuses on anyone other than yourself more than you focus on yourself. Now, you might focus on another person. Maybe you're a significant other. Maybe you're caring for grandma. Maybe you got kids. But even them, you focus on you more than you focus on them. Now, yeah, I get it. You got to take care of your kid. It might be close to 50-50. Maybe you think it is. But you were focusing on yourself for years before you had that kid, right? So you got much more time in focusing on yourself than you got focusing on your kid. All right, if you got a child, that means you're at least, 14? So you got at least 14 years of focusing on yourself before you had that kid. So obviously that's not enough. Usually people say this, I'm going to focus on myself. They use it as an out clause so that they don't need to be held accountable for doing something about the challenges that they have at hand. And not being held accountable by me, because if someone's talking to me about this, is either one of two things. Either they're just telling me about their challenges, or they're coming to me and we're talking about coaching. Now, if you're getting someone to help coach you or mentor you, or joining a mastermind, you're getting into a program, those kind of things, that is a way to work on yourself. But if you're just leaving it up to you and your thing is, I'm going to focus on myself, no, that's not going to work. Again, in what year of your life were you not focusing on yourself? In what year of your life were you focusing on something other than yourself? Not one. There is no year in your life when you weren't doing that. Because doing something is actually, doing something. What are you actually doing? Focusing on yourself, what does that mean? Any of you who's ever used that phrase? Any of you there's somebody listening to me right now who you told yourself today or yesterday, or let's just say in the last month, you told yourself this exact BS out clause idea. You know what? I got these issues in my life. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to focus on myself. You told yourself this. This means absolutely nothing. What it really means is you're going to spend more time thinking about your problem or not thinking about your problem, and then you'll still be in the same spot at this time next year. That's really what it means. Is that really what you want? Because again, you can focus on yourself you don't even have to talk about your problems. You focus on yourself every day. You're focused on yourself. So is this what you want, to be in the same spot again this time next year? Most people's answer would be no. They don't want to be in the same spot again next year. But then at the same time, you ask them, okay, what do you plan on doing? What's your action plan to not be in the same spot again next year? They don't have one. So even though they say they don't want to be in the same spot, they actually do want to be in the same spot because they're setting themselves up for exactly that. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is focusing on myself is not a solution to your problem. Another version of this is working on myself. Working on yourself requires actual work. Everybody understand that? Meaning you have to do some actual work, meaning work that's tangible, that somebody could look at you and see that you're actually doing the work. So what is the work that you'll be doing specifically? If this is your answer, that you're working on yourself. If you don't have an answer to this question, then let me tell you what you are actually doing. You are merely bullshitting yourself about the fact that you are going to do essentially the same thing I said in point number 1, nothing. Working on yourself means you are going to get some therapy, you're going to hire a coach, you're going to take some courses, you're going to join a club, you're going to get mentorship, you're going to do some actual work that will make you better in a conscious and intentional way that's going to require some investments on your part so that you can get some return on that investment. That's the work, and it'll make yourself a better person. But if you're not doing that, then you're not working on yourself. If you are not doing something that is intentional and conscious that can be laid out on paper for someone to understand exactly what the quote-unquote work is, then you are doing nothing, and what you're actually doing is setting yourself up for ongoing failure, because you're going to still be in the same spot in the future. Because what you call working on yourself, I call you're not really doing anything. And if you're doing the same stuff, and here's another caveat to the working on yourself thing. If your version of working on yourself is doing more of things that you have already done in your past, and they have not produced the desired alterations or changes, which we know they haven't, because that's why you have the challenge today and you've already done these things before. And your solution, i.e. your work on yourself, is to do more of those things that you already know don't produce the results that you need in the way that you need them. Then all you're doing is giving yourself an excuse to keep doing nothing. You're giving yourself an excuse to stay in your comfort zone. So I'm an author, I write books. I will gladly sell you a book. But sometimes people will say to me, well, Dre, I'm gonna read some books that'll help me, do the work on myself. Well, here's my question to you. Have you ever read a book before in your life? If this is the first book you've ever read, then hey, maybe it might help you out. But if you're not new to reading books, then I'm not going to discourage you from reading a book, but reading a book alone is not going to solve your issue, because if it did, then what happened to the last book you read, or the last 10 before that, or the last 20 before that? Why didn't any of them solve your issue? So reading a book is not going to solve anything for you, and it's not really about the information or the points that are made inside the book that are going to change you. You had to make a decision to make change, and usually it's going to take more in the book to do that. You're going to have to make some type of investment in yourself so that you are all the way in, so that you are actually bought in and you actually have to do something, not it's convenient to do something. A lot of people do things out of convenience. So you're signing yourself up for ongoing failure if your work is either saying that you're going to do something but you don't have anything tangible lined up, or if your work is doing more of something that you've done in the past that clearly didn't work, which is why you still have a challenge right now. There's a reason why you have a challenge, because you did all that stuff that you've done up to this point in your life. It didn't work. Why would you do more of the same thing? I mean, we all know the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So why would you do that? It may be that you're secretly hoping that you fail, but that's a different conversation for a different day. I talk about that in my book, Work on Your Game. So if you haven't read it, go to workonyourgamebook.com, get your copy. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is focusing on myself is not a solution to your problems. If you find yourself saying that phrase, here's how you actually focus on and work on yourself. If you really want to do that, and you really do want to focus on yourself, you really want to work out yourself. First of all, you need to figure out what your top challenges are. What are the areas of your life that you really do need to make change, you need to make adjustments, and you know that you actually need some help. You might have 50 areas where you need help, but let's narrow this down. Top, let's say 3 to 5 areas where you need help. Next, decide and identify who and where and what can actually help you address these challenges. Who, where, and what can help you address your biggest challenges in your life. Then you need to decide and identify, after you decide and identify who can help address these challenges in a tangible, conscious, and intentional way. Next, you got to take the steps to actually get help from that entity, that thing, that system, that program, that person, whatever it happens to be. Now you got to take the actual action step. And all of this can happen. The only thing that you actually have to do something is the last point. So what I just told you again, figure out your top challenges, identify who and where and what can actually help you, then do whatever it takes to actually get that who and where and what on your side so they can actually help you. Those are the 3 things that you need to do. And this is all part of point number 3. Next, after you did that, there's the 4th point, do the damn work. So that's the 4-point process. Identify the needs, figure out who can help solve the needs, do what it takes to get that person or that thing on your team so they can help you solve the needs. Then whatever it is that they prescribe for you to do, actually do it. Working on yourself and improving yourself, folks, making yourself a more valuable person, a higher level, higher quality individual, is not something that happens by osmosis. It does not happen by thinking about it. It does not happen because your problems just decide to magically float away from you. If you actually want to get better, you have to actually do work. Real, tangible, conscious, intentional work. Not thinking about it, not focusing on yourself, not claiming that you're working on yourself when you don't have anyone enrolled to help you do the work and you've had 30 years to do it on your own. You as the captain of that work on yourself ship ain't working. So you need something other than just you. So stop with the bullshit phrases that are giving you an excuse to continue failing, and figure out, all right, what am I actually going to do here so that I can, put myself in a better space, and who or what is actually going to help me do this. Remember, folks, that you can't see yourself in the mirror. There are certain parts of you that you can't see on your own. So no matter how many books you read, how hard you focus, how much you concentrate, how much you stare in the mirror, there are certain angles of you, metaphorically speaking, that you can't see. And even if you could see them, you couldn't really get to them and do anything with them, because you can't see it from the same position that someone else can see it. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. Last I checked, most humans had them in the front. So you need someone else who can see things that you can't see, who may have some insights that you don't have, and can prescribe some things to you that, if left to your own devices, you would probably never prescribe to yourself, because they might be a little bit too uncomfortable, might be a little bit too far outside of your comfort zone, might be a little bit different from anything that you had ever even thought of, let alone are you uncomfortable with. You might not even thought of doing it. This is why you got to be careful when you're vetting your sources. Who are you getting your information from, and who are you enrolling to help you out with your challenges? All of these things are part of really doing the work on yourself, if you are serious about doing that work. So let's recap today's class, which is this phrase of, I'm focusing on myself. This is not a solution to your problems. Since I often hear from people who are telling me what their biggest challenge is, the real challenge for many people is not that they have challenges, because everybody has them. It's that their solution, quote unquote solution to their problem, is completely insufficient given the size of the issue and how long the issue has lingered already in their lives. Point number one, you've been focusing on yourself your whole damn life. So if you're 32 and you have a challenge to deal with right now, focusing on yourself won't work, because you've had that challenge for how many years, and you're 32 years old. So clearly, you working by yourself is not the solution to the problem. Usually people say this as an out clause so that they can't be held accountable for actually doing something for the challenges that they have at hand. But doing something actually means doing something. So what does focusing on yourself mean? It means nothing. It means you're going to spend more time thinking about your problem, or not thinking about it, and you'll still be in the same spot at this time next year. If that's what you want, then fine. I don't think that's what you want. Point number two, another version of this is working on myself. Working on yourself requires actual work. So what is that work that you are doing specifically? If you don't have an answer, you are merely bullshitting yourself about the fact that you're really going to do nothing. All right, it just sounds good as you say you're going to work on yourself. Working on yourself means therapy, a coach, taking courses, joining a club, getting a mentorship, doing some actual work that will make you better in a conscious, intentional, and clear way. If you are not doing something intentionally and consciously that can be laid out on paper and somebody can look at and see the work that you are doing, then you're signing yourself up for ongoing failure. And point number three, here's how you actually focus on and work on yourself if you're serious about doing it. Figure out what your top challenges are. That's point number one, step number one. Step number two, decide and identify who and where and what can actually help you address these challenges. And number three, take the steps to actually get help from that entity. And number four, whatever that entity tells you to do, because you enrolled them to help you solve your challenges, do it. Just do the work. This stuff does not happen by osmosis. It doesn't happen because you thought about it. Your problems will not just merely float by on the ether. If you actually want to get better, you got to actually do work. You must do real, tangible work. Stop with the bullshit phrases that are giving you an excuse to continue failing, and figure out, all right, what am I going to do that's actually going to put me in a better space and actually help me deal with these challenges that I've been focusing on my entire life, the whole 40 years. Now I'm ready to actually do something about this, something real and something tangible. Figure out what that is and actually do a real, tangible thing. Not just a thinking about it thing, not just a talking about it thing, not just something that sounds good on Facebook, but something that you're actually going to do so that you can solve this challenge and you can stop living the same life over and over again on your way to 85 years old and having lived the same life for 65 of them. All right, don't be that person. All that said, a couple things for you to do. First of all, get my daily motivation text for free, straight to your phone every single day. Just text me at my number 305-384-6894. Secondly, subscribe to me wherever you are listening to this. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. If you are listening on an audio app, Apple or Spotify or one of those, make sure you subscribe to the show and leave a rating of the show. That will help more people see the show, more people know about it. It'll move us up in the algorithms and all of that stuff. So make sure you leave a rating and subscribe to the show. And Lastly, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com where you have the option to. First of all, you can work with me one-on-one. You click the button for the one-on-one call. You'll schedule a call with me, and we'll talk about what we need to talk about, see where you're at business-wise, and if I could possibly help you, if you qualify. Number two, at workonyourgameuniversity.com is where you can also join my Bulletproof Mastermind. That's my group coaching program where I do a live call every single week addressing everybody's needs, everybody's challenges. If you have needs and have challenges, especially when it comes to your business and personal development, you need to be in a Bulletproof Mastermind where you can play off of the group as well as learning from me directly. And there in the university, you also get access to all of my best courses, from Bulletproof Mindset to 25 Hours to Social Story Secrets to Toughen Up to, I got a whole bunch of them, I can't even remember them all, but People Skills is in there, 30 Days of Discipline is in there. All of that's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all day.